r/AskReddit by Reddify. Who's your worst neighbor and what makes them so ducking awful? I had this neighbor. She had a little tiny Pomeranian dog that barked at everything. Which wasn't too bad actually. The dog wasn't outside much, and barking dogs aren't too hard for me to ignore. What was really hard to ignore was this woman yelling, "Nala. No bark," at the top of her lungs every time the dog barked. It drove me and my roommate up the wall. Edit. Enough people have asked me if I live in or have ever lived in Jersey that it necessitates a response. Fortunately, I have not. I can only imagine how loud the barking/yelling can be that all of Jersey knows about it. The worst part is that it probably encourages the dog to do it even more, and it becomes a self-reinforcing feedback loop. Source: me, who works at a pet store and sees a lot of dumb bullshit when it comes to people attempting to train or discipline their dogs. I seriously tell this to my mom every time. When my dog is out, I just keep near her and wait for her to finish business and get her back in. Mother on the other hand stays in the house, and if the dog barks or even gruffs, she yells at my dog to get back in the house. Also, whistling works better for the dog than yelling. My neighbor has no ducking sense of time. One time we had to talk to him about not using power tools or splitting wood at 3 in the morning. What makes him worse? He gets a smaller trash can to pay less to the city, but then puts all his extra trash in our bin so ours overfills, and we have to pay extra. I would be tempted to put some kind of alarm on the lid of the trash can that blasted really loud, turned on a light, and videotaped whoever opened the lid. Then I'd take that trash and throw it right back on his property. At least that's the fantasy I'd indulge in. Or just grab all of his trash, rip open the bag, and dump it on his lawn so he gets fined for it. I have these stupid college kids that just started renting a house next to me. Every single weekend for 3 months straight they've been throwing parties. That's not so bad, even though they are super loud and won't shut up until about 3 AM. What makes them the worst is that we live in a court. So whenever the party ends, all these runk ductards get in their cars and drive home. Almost every single neighbor, including me, had windows shattered, cars dented, or side panels destroyed because of these assholes. Not a single note left or insurance info exchanged. At least 8 hit and runs in the last 3 months. Duck these people. Edit. After all these comments, I've decided to call the cops next time they throw a party, as I know they are all driving drunk afterwards, and see if the cops will come out. I doubt they will, but it's worth a shot, right? I'm also going to invest in some outdoor CCTV cameras. It's going to be a risk to set up, but like others have stated, it'll be worth it. You can stop flooding my inbox now. Put a camera up. Record the damage occurring. Just once will pay for itself. I've been thinking about it. I have a CCTV system and 2 cameras, but I need to set it up. Also, they are indoor cameras, not outdoor. My wife and I purchased our first house about 3 years ago. While moving in, there were my new neighbors drinking on their front porch. No big deal. While bringing the last load of boxes into the house, my neighbor comes up, welcomes me to the neighborhood, mentions how nice my TV is. Fast forward 1 week. We are headed out to dinner. This neighbor stops me before getting in the car and asks how long we will be gone. Huge red flag. I lie. Tell him I'm just running to the gas station 1 block away and will be back immediately. 20 minutes later I get a phone call from the local police. This moron broke into my house in broad daylight with 3 other neighbors watching. Luckily these neighbors weren't pieces of shit too. He cut his hand on the window he was attempting to climb through and used his bleeding hand on every doorknob in my house. He is now a number in the US penal system. He was literally caught red-handed. After everything settled down, I spoke with the neighbor who alerted the police. I thanked her. She immediately started laughing, then apologized for laughing about the situation, then gave me the story through her eyes. She said I heard a really loud bang followed by glass shattering, which was odd, so I stayed on my front porch for a few extra minutes. About 5 minutes after hearing glass shatter, I see Daniel leaving your house. TV under one arm, PS4 under the other arm, all while trying to simultaneously hold his pants up and run down the street. My neighbor. Let me tell you about this guy. In the apartment to my left is a guy who is studying music at university. He plays guitar and he's really amazing. Above me, a 14-year-old kid who plays the most beautiful piano every afternoon at 4 p.m. Then there's this guy. Knows one Nirvana riff which he plays over and over again from 3 a.m. till 5 a.m. on a piece of hit electric guitar at full volume. He never gets it right and never gets better at it. He's a drug dealer, but not a scary Breaking Bad type one. He's a 35-year-old scooter riding unemployed loser whose frail elderly parents come over every week to do his washing and clean the flat they had to buy for him to live in. This month, to make ends meet, he has sublet his windowless one-car garage to a meth-addicted prostitute who services a seemingly endless line of overweight middle-aged cabbies loudly and is frequently beaten up by her pimp/boyfriend. Some days she leaves the garage door open so we can see the airless dank squalor she's been driven to live in. Old couch for sleeping/X. Dirty clothes as a makeshift carpet. I had a baby this month. Then the lady at the front apartment had one too. I put the crib against the wall we both share. Now this douchebag is sandwiched between two screaming newborns who never sleep. Ever. And it feels so good. Edit. To clarify. When I say he's a drug dealer I mean he sells weed to other unemployed hipsters. Also, I'm doing what I can to help the lady in the garage by talking with police. If she wants to take drugs or sex, that's her business. But no one deserves to be beaten. I love this. I wasn't expecting a happy conclusion. But then boom. Such an excellent plot twist full of sweet justice. Also, congratulations on your baby. I like to imagine both parties having babies on purpose and out of sheer will of spite. Op is a guy and he had a baby just to piss this guy off. The front apartment lady is single but found a one-night stand in order to enact this plan. My old neighbors was runks and held nightly gatherings for other runks. They kept pissing on my fence and into my yard. Every time I told them to stop, 10 runks showed up in my yard threatening with fire and murder. And I'm pretty sure one of them had my cat in its tail while swinging it over his head. The damages and the doctor said so. When I had to pay $2,000 to get the spine reattached and the tail cut off. Anyways, I began filming everything in plain sight and told them I was filming. Eventually they broke under pressure and went ballistic. $10 damage in under 5 minutes. They got a huge bill and I had enough evidence to get one of them fired and 2 of their kids removed. So I did. I'm not even sorry. All they did with those kids was screaming they should piss off outside. I moved shortly after and now have nice new Korean neighbors to one side and a sea captain that's never home to the other side. SRY for spelling. It's a bit late/early where I am. Holy duck. Did they pay the bill for the damage? I'm guessing not. You are right. 13 years ago I found out my neighbor was having an affair with my ex-wife. So yeah. Worst neighbor ever. It sucks. I know it's horrible for you, but it's even bad for other neighbors as well. I have neighbor house 1 to the left where there was a family of 5 living. Across the street was neighbor 2 with a family of 3. To the right is neighbor 3 who are the parents of the lady in house number 1. So I never saw the man at number 2 very much, but his wife was always walking around. So the husband in house number 1 starts hooking up with the wife in house number 2. Now both of them are divorced. The man from number 1 has moved into house number 2. And the woman in number 1 now has a new man, not sure if married yet or not. But it came a while after the divorce. So I don't think it was an affair previously. So it's prime neighbor awkwardness with cheated on lady and her parents on both sides of me and the cheater and his mistress across the street. None of them are bad neighbors to me. But man, it's a hitty situation. Especially with all the kids involved. We still try to be friendly to all the kids because we know none of the mess is their fault. Does my landlady's daughter count? I live in a room with private bathroom off of their home. And it's a pretty convenient setup. I'm almost never home other than to sleep. So generally the little annoyances don't bother me. But holy hell, I want to throw this girl into a bag and drown her into the river. She's 19 years old. Living at home while she takes some time off from college. Okay. Pretty reasonable. I've been there before. Except she acts like a 5-year-old. Her speaking voice is, at best, a yell. At worst it's a demon screech from hell. She likes to hang out in the room directly next to mine and scream full volume at her mother pretty much every day. They are not normal arguments either. Her mother is always very calm and reasonable, while this girl just throws tantrums like a child because she doesn't like what her mother is making for dinner, or her mother isn't paying enough attention to her. Just really the kind of stuff toddlers enjoy complaining about. Normally I just tune it out, but I work an overpass shift on the weekends and have to catch up on sleep during the day. Unfortunately for me, she has the weekends off, and it seems like they are her favorite time to scream for hours on end. This girl also fancies herself a singer and is trying to get herself into a performance art program at some college. She's applied to a bunch now, I think, and she likes to practice for her auditions again in the room right next to mine. Her voice literally sounds like a dying cat, hence the river drowning. Of course if anyone tries to give her constructive criticism she just shrieks, so they let her be. Now recently I've heard a lot of sobbing from her because she's starting to get rejection letters from the colleges she's been applying to with these horrible auditions. I normally try to keep as much distance from her as possible, but her sister and I are friends, so when her sister is visiting from out of town this girl will invite herself along on our plans, and since we don't want to listen to her scream we just let it happen. On one of these outings I learned that she's also a dancer. I figured we had finally found some common ground. So I ask her what styles she's into, and she says ballet, modern, and tango. I don't know much about the first two, but I'm a competitive international ballroom dancer. So I tried asking her what style tango she dances, assuming she probably also dances the other dances in the style, and just mentioned the dance she's working on. She just met me with a blank stare and repeated as if I were the 5-year-old that she's dancing tango. Didn't I hear her? So I elaborate, asking if she means international or American, and she starts to get pissed off saying that she just dances regular tango. Apparently she just walked into an Arthur Murray dance studio and told them she wanted to dance tango, and because it's Arthur Murray they charged her an absurd amount of money for their studio gear and just started teaching her some unidentifiable form of tango. At that point I was just like, oh okay cool, but I had already set off her age, so she starts shrieking asking what I even know about tango. I reminded her that I'm a ballroom dancer, and her response was, I don't dance ballroom. I dance tango. Aren't you ducking listening? We just don't really speak anymore. And yet the headache just from listening to her in the next room never seems to go away. Parents of Reddit, this is the adult you get by coddling the child. Teach your kids to clean up after themselves. Don't praise them for shit they're not good at. Make certain that they do not get everything they ask for. And for your sake and thus teach them to be pragmatic. Since /u/Tonadanza is friends with the sister of the Hell Beast, I'm going to assume she was born a demon spawn and didn't get turned into one by her parents. My next door neighbor is lovely in nearly every way. He's friendly, has a cute dog, and he brought us fish and chips for lunch on the day we moved in. He watches our house when we are away and deals with repair people if we are at work. Since he's retired, practically perfect in every way. But his garden is full of wind chimes. Like, there could well be more than 100. The constant chiming 24/7 makes me want to garrote him. I hear them in my sleep. I hear them at work. I swear they're following me. The chimes never stop. Edit, my first gold. Thank you kind stranger. I hear them in my sleep. I hear them at work. I swear they're following me. The chimes never stop. /r/nolep. Which one do you want? The guy who would go on drug-fueled rampages, screaming for hours at a time? The one who would wank while staring at and recording women through his front window as they passed by? The one who stabbed a guy in his house? Or the one who had 2 different cars of his set on fire within a single week? The last one is especially fun, as their next door neighbor's handicapped accessible van caught fire too. Edit, I can't believe I forgot my favorite crazy neighbor story. When I was in high school, our across the street neighbor declared himself a member of the Montana militia. We don't live in Montana or anywhere close, and decided that paying taxes and car registration fees was unnecessary since he was now a sovereign nation into himself. He had quite a few Dale Gribble eccentricities. He knew that eventually the government would be coming to claim his properties, so he prepared. He removed the fence to his backyard, lined up his 3 cars side by side, and replaced the fence. He then welded all 3 cars together via a couple long bars across the bottom, then left his yard hose on for days, weeks. When they finally came to take his cars away, they had to remove the fence. Then tried dragging the first car out. That one dragged the other 2 along with it, which pulled them all deep into the mud. They had to get several trucks and a welder out to take care of the matter. It was pretty fantastic. Would wank while staring at and recording women through his front window as they passed by. Hi dilly ho. Neighborino. Neighbors that live above me. They have 2 young children. I think they practice WrestleMania jumping off their couches all day. The worst part is that their family is nice. It's hard for me to be mad at kids. Ever tried to just communicate your problem to them? Maybe they'll understand. Given you say they are nice people, well, you can talk to them, and they can actually be really sympathetic to what you're saying. But the thing is that young kids are going to be loud. That's just life. I don't have kids, but I have friends who have kids. And as annoying as it may be, kids aren't perfect little angels all the time. My friends are great disciplinarians and fine parents. But the fact is that a 4-year-old is going to stomp around and make a hitload of noise. And if there is a 2-year-old also involved, well, there's going to be lots of jumping and stomping and falling off of hit. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can watch together.